Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the OK Grognard Show. It is Thursday, August 20th, 9:30 a.m. Central in beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. GMing tips today, huh? Thursday? There was a thread started about murder hobos in the forum, and I thought, in the Facebook group, which, I don't know. There we go. My bad. I gotta put this down here. I just added this Blue Yeti mic. Let's see here. We got a little. Is this a little better on the lighting? I don't know if it's any better. Maybe a little bit. We'll see. I don't know. Trying that. Trying to do some of that thing there. So we'll see how it works out. I don't know. It's all such a crying shame. What's going on with that? We don't want that up there. We want to turn that off. There we go. Get that out of the way. All right. Man, I'm all over the place this morning, huh? Trying to get a little... does this have bookmarks in it? Oh, it does. Oh, and there is alignment. Okay. We'll clear those off. We'll bring this over here. Can we see that if we do it? Yeah. Good and evil. Alignment. All right. So anyway, the discussion was about murder hobos, which sadly is always a I don't know. Always kind of like a code for alignment discussions. And I'm not a huge fan of them, to be honest. I think people kind of take to heart certain things about alignment, and they get stuck in their rut. Where are we at? Let's move me over there, huh? All right, good enough. Close enough? Beautiful. Love it. Can we see the little hand down there? I'm not going to change the size of that. Morning, Lex Fire. Morning, Ink Dweller. Morning, as I already said, Neutral Good Books. Good to have you all here. Do we dip our toe into the pool of alignment discussions? Oh, yeah. Hey, by the way, let's take a moment to acknowledge me actually setting up this Blue Yeti mic finally. I don't know. What do you think? Does it sound better than it used to be with that crappy headset mic wireless thing I was using? I had this other headset that I was using for a while, but I don't know. It just felt it was wireless and I like it, but not for recordings. It shit the bed on me one day with the battery life, and I haven't trusted it since then. It's good for when I'm listening to stuff, and that's fine, but as a headset for this, I don't know. I've had this Blue Yeti mic for a while, and it just seemed to pick up so much extraneous sound. How's it sounding now, though? Sounds good? Okay, Luxfire says it sounds good. Am I too loud in it? Could I turn up the gain and get a little more out of it without getting too much, like, background sound? Yeah, sometimes it's pretty hollow. I listen to the recordings when I get them started up over on YouTube when I upload them after I'm done the show, and it's not about me needing to sound like a rock star or anything stupid. It's just me wanting to make sure that the sound quality isn't annoying. Okay, if I turn this up too high, you can kind of see the bleed from the light above. I've got to adjust the color on that green screen a little more. But I changed the lighting up there so that it wasn't hanging down as low. So hopefully I can get a little more mileage out of that screen. But I definitely need to dial in the color on it somewhat. Anyway, that's all good, I guess. Just have to talk at the mic if you turn the volume lower. Okay. Have I been going in and out as I turn my face toward the camera? Is that much lower? Or is that still close enough for what I'm doing here? I'll leave it to you guys. You're in the thing. I can always change where the boom is and change where the mic is, but if I bring it over any further, I need broadcast hirelings. Yeah, you know, if I'm not an interns kind of guy. I don't believe that people should work and not make money. But I also know that I don't have money to spend on this. This is my own little hobby thing, and it's going to be as good as I can make it. But other than having people that enjoy it, spend time watching it, and chime in on the chat stream, I'm not looking for anybody to pass anything along. I've got a Patreon. I don't ever plug it. I've got a handful of people on there. Some good folk. Carlos Lysing, of course, and Heath. Tom Tullis is a benefactor from Fat Dragon. My buddy Shane Bradley, of course, is one of my finest Patreon supporters. One of my earliest ones. He's a heck of a guy. He well, what I do and what the store does are two different things. So let me just say that when someone helps out at the store, like Shane does when he helps organize games at the store, D&D games and stuff. He did Adventure League stuff for a while. He moderates one of the Facebook groups. He does that. He doesn't do that with any expectation of money. So that's a different thing from asking somebody to come on and be technical advisor on Cut Rate Podcast. Podcast? Is it a vlog? What is this anyway? I don't even know what to call this. It's a show. It's a show, baby. What do we got? I got 1, 2, 3. Ooh, there we go. I wanted to check something out real quick. So yeah. Oh, and I should also mention someone else who spends time at Lake Geneva Games is Sean Conlon. He's a Patreon supporter as well. I mentioned Heath and Shane and Sean and Carlos and Tom. So that's it. I just have 5, and I don't really look for those guys to. I don't think they expect much. I think they just like that I do stuff and throw a couple of bucks into the Patreon so that having set up the Patreon was worth my while. I put the link in all the videos, but I never mention it. Today's the first time I think I've ever mentioned it on the show that I can recall. I don't know. Any you remember me mentioning it before? What else we got going here? Well, I guess the thing to do is start talking about alignment, huh? What do we think? When we started, it was all about law and chaos, right? Just the two. Oh, that's all we needed. We didn't need any more. Is this Mike? Yeah. This hit the mute so I could have a little drink there. It's nice having a little mute button. I don't have to change any settings on the OBS or mute the OBS to do anything. See, I'm like a professional here with professional tools. And oh, I know what I didn't do. I didn't turn on my ring light. I usually keep that up just enough to make me not look like a pasty-faced gamer stuck in a basement somewhere. Because I'm not in a basement. If I was in a basement, I wouldn't have to worry about extraneous sounds. Alright, anyway, alignment. Lawful and chaos. Law and chaos. What more do we need, right? Is good neutral and evil even a necessary thing? Well, that's something to talk about because it's very much a matter of in the news sort of thing now, right? In the zeitgeist, people up in arms about evil races, orcs being evil as a general rule, a sentient species. It's only called race by virtue of the fact that archaically the word race was used for nations of people. When nations of people in fantastical and legendary times included dwarves and elves, and humans were all still humans. It didn't matter color of the skin for purposes of legends or that sort of thing, and it didn't matter for D&D either. You could have any color skin you wanted and be a human being in someone's campaign world, and your race was human. So it's kind of a willful misunderstanding to, and let's be honest, it's a willful misunderstanding with some misguidance from semantics, the semantics of the day. So when Gary's trying to write kind of all archaically, is that a word? Can you add ly to archaic? When he's trying to write in an archaic manner, in a sort of in a way that's evocative of legends and mythology and all of that, while at the same time, in a way, being a textbook, right? So when he's trying to put all of that into what he calls first edition Dungeons and Dragons, he's not thinking about the color of people's skin when he makes orcs evil, when orcs are put out there as evil. And orcs are not a stand-in for anybody in the real world, for any group of people in the real world. That's not a real thing. If Tolkien misspoke at some point and tried to describe them physically and tapped into some real world examples as a shorthand for how they looked physically, not that they were stand-ins for their one group of people or another, that's just him misspeaking, trying to use a shorthand so that people could understand him, and not realizing at the time that shorthand would be insulting. He should have. I can't imagine, even at the time, if he had thought about what he said, and he probably regretted saying it. I'm sure some people must have pointed it out to him. I know that a lot of people probably wouldn't have said anything to him just because of who he was, but also because some people didn't care. Some people still don't care. But fact of the matter is, what he said wasn't right then. It isn't right now. But it also isn't what it seems to be. All it was a shorthand for a physical description that he was trying to get across. And it's ridiculous to equate an evil race in a game with anybody walking around on the real planet. So, that being said, that's how I feel about it. And trust me when I say I'm an ally. I'm an ally for everybody on the planet. I'm a Black Lives Matter guy. I'm a protect the elderly people. I was wearing masks before anybody else was even thinking about it. I actually went out and bought masks when I heard all of this stuff was going down back in January, late January. I stopped out at a place and picked up a box of masks because I just thought, you know what, this could get bad. And then and I had a box of latex gloves, which came in handy to use at work too, that I had picked up some time back when there was a previous scare, and I was thinking I might need to have that sort of protection around. So I was ready to go, but all of the things going on in the world, and this is an alignment conversation, huh? What do you think? Well, why is it an alignment conversation? Because what we need to do is separate the game from what's going on in the real world. I'm not saying that you need to separate the author from his work. I certainly believe that when someone writes fiction. And I think there are fictional elements to D&D. And when you're dealing with those fictional elements, you shouldn't cross-pollinate between the real world and with the fictional world, unless it's purposefully meant to be that. And let's face it, you can understand why people walk that line. Certainly, there's a lot of sci-fi and fantasy that is meant to be metaphor, meant to be analogous to real world politics, religion, sociological problems, issues. So you totally understand that. But choose your battles. Orcs being evil. Now, I've changed mine. I don't want people to be upset. If there are going to be that many people upset, then maybe we do this as a way of moving a little closer to where their position is to try to help them be less upset so we can move on to real issues. And in so doing, I've said, all right, traditionally my orcs have been totally evil in my world. Always. Just was never meant as a slight against anybody, but if it's going to bother some people, that's no problem at all. There are now places somewhere in the world, I haven't developed them, where there are non-evil orcs. Now, the ones that the PCs will always run into will probably be evil. But the entire race isn't anymore. So, if that is meeting you halfway, then so be it. If you can't take my honest explanation of how I feel about the situation and know that I'm still an ally and I'm still a friend and still a person who cares about other people. And I saw a nice little meme the other day. Somebody posted something that said there seems to be this great divide in the country between people that actually care about people they don't know and people who don't. So if you have to be connected to somebody personally, if they have to be family or a close friend or something, for you to behave in a way that you're sure is not going to hurt them, spread that out a bit further. Because it's just ridiculous that you can't empathize with people that are hurting. It's part of being human. And we're all humans, right? Alignment describes the broad ethos of thinking, reasoning creatures. Those unintelligent sorts being placed within the neutral area because they are totally uncaring. Neutral, totally uncaring. What? Note that alignment does not necessarily dictate religious persuasion, although many religious beliefs will dictate alignment. As explained under alignment languages, this aspect of alignment is not the major consideration. The overall behavior of the character or creature is delineated by alignment, or, in the case of player characters, behavior determines the actual alignment. Therefore, besides defining the general tendencies of the creature, it also groups creatures into mutually acceptable or at least non-hostile divisions. This is not to say that groups of similarly aligned creatures cannot be opposed, or even mortal enemies. Two nations, for example, with rulers of lawful good alignment can be at war. Bands of orcs that can hate each other. But the former would possibly cease their war to oppose a massive invasion of orcs, just as the latter would make common cause against the lawful good men. Thus, alignment describes the worldview of creatures and helps define what their actions, reactions, and purposes will be. It likewise causes a player, character, to choose an ethos which is appropriate to his or her profession, and alignment also aids in the definition and role approach of their respective game persona. With the usefulness of alignment determined, definition of the divisions is necessary. Well, I'll tell you, that's a lot to unpack. Here's what I've always taken from it, because how I use alignment is definitely summed up in there, in that I've never felt alignment should be a straitjacket for players. Rather, it should be a gauge of what they have done and how they behave. It lets me determine where they are on the spectrum of good to evil and law to chaos. And it allows me, because they're not in that skin 24/7, to have them embody a sort of a vibe that can be possibly picked up on by other people in the world that meet them, whether those other people are a dog on the street, someone running a general store, a commander of an opposing army. These are the things that they might pick up on in a moment when they have to deal with that person. This affects the reaction. And it's a gauge. If I mentioned this in that thread on the group, that I've always been one when I run a campaign, and even when I run a one-shot at a convention or whatever, I've always been one to say no evil characters. And I don't even like chaotic neutral characters. So if you're going to be that way, just understand that. If you're playing in my campaign, if you're playing at my table, you are essentially becoming part of a group. You're part of a team. Act like you want to be part of the team. I don't want 6 loners sitting around the table looking askance. giving each other the evil eye or the chaotic neutral eye. I don't want a bunch of people with mysterious scars and no parents and no background except a broodiness. You know, if you're gonna play at a table, because here's the problem, meta wise, somebody gets invited to play with another group of players, or somebody sits down at a convention to play with another group of players. They are, by doing so, in full awareness that their character is going to be accepted into the group. They're not sitting down to play 20% of a game all by themselves while 4 other people play the other 80% without that person. Even, the DM isn't going to divide their time. Okay, well, we're 12 minutes into the hour. I've got to deal with these 4, and then we'll be back to you at the top of the hour for another 12 minutes. You're not running 2 games. These people that sit down at the table or join in at a campaign are part of the game, part of the team. They are going to be accepted as such. If their character is an abhorrent piece of crap, then we know that the 4 other characters that are being played by the other players would object to even letting this person be part of their team. We can't trust this person. This person is not enthusiastic. They don't want to be part of the team. I'm not going to spend my entire day dragging them down the street toward the dragon with me to help me fight. So, the idea that they automatically get to be part of the team even if they don't act like they want to is ridiculous. So, I always tell people up front, you're part of a team. Make your character someone who wants to be part of the team. Well, I don't know if my character would be that way. I don't think that's the way my character would act. Well, then your character can't be in this game. Because I'm running a game for a team of adventurers. They don't have to be heroic all the time. They don't have to be constantly pulling cats out of trees and digging orphans out of rubble. But they got to want to adventure together. They've got to want this whole, reluctant, this whole reluctant adventurer routine gets old real fast. When I have a player in a game whose character is constantly at the back of the party, falling behind, staying even in other rooms when there's a fight going on, never really helping out unless directly asked and put on the spot to do so, I just feel like that player really doesn't want to be there, and that's sad. But the worst part about it isn't that they don't want to be there. The worst part about it is that they are there, and they are taking up time from me and from the other players when they don't want to be there in the first place. So, at some point you've got to realize, if you're going to be part of a group, think about what your alignment's going to be in regard to that. So this whole chaotic neutral thing, where you just do absolutely anything you want at any given time and only for your own ends. The chaotic neutral views the cosmos. This view of the cosmos holds that absolute freedom is necessary. Whether the individual exercising such freedom chooses to do good or evil is of no concern. After all, life itself is law and order, so death is a desirable end. Therefore, life can only be justified as a tool by which order is combated, and in the end, it too will pass into entropy. Well, it's probably the most annoying of all. I mean, evil. Evil is kind of out in the open most of the time, right? We kind of know when someone's playing evil I've run evil games. I've run evil. I haven't run campaigns, but I've run games where all the players had characters that were evil. And as I've mentioned before, every time it ends in disaster in game. I mean, I won't run a bad game. People at the table will have fun, or I'll fall over myself to try to make sure they do. But just how everything falls apart for people is crazy. Joe and Susie were in a game, Expeditious Retreat, in a game back at an EN World Game Day. I don't know, 13, 14, 15 years ago, something like that. I forget. Anyway, it was booked to be. It was set up to be an evil one shot. All the characters were in a town. Most of them were thieves, or knowing that they were going to be in support of some thieves. They were. They had a number of things they could latch onto as hooks, heists they could do, assassinations, various other things, and at the end of the day, it was going to wind up being whoever came out of it with the most valuable treasure was going to be declared winner at the table. And I had some sort of prize for somebody. I forget if it was a set of dice or something. I don't know. Anyway, they bit off way more than they could chew, and wound up in a jewelry store that had some stone slabs that could drop down into place once the employees were in the next room or up above and watching through the murder holes. And they were aptly named, because that's when things started hitting the fan, and people were told to surrender, but they wouldn't. And poor Susie thought she was going to get out of it somehow, and infighting broke out, and, well, her nickname became Stabby McStabberson after that, because nobody was safe. She just started, you. Everyone took their lumps that day, though. Trapped in a jewelry store. I mean, they basically walked in and demanded. I think there was this thin veneer of a wink and a nudge. It'd be a real shame if you didn't hand over all the jewelry and gems, kind of a thing. And I think they expected there to be no sort of protective systems in place. Although it was a fairly big city, and it was a fairly sturdy building from without. But that's how it goes. Anyway, evil can lead to disaster. And once that happens, there's not much you can do. Lawful evil, lawful neutral, lawful good. We got all the neutrals. I'm not going to read each one of them, because I don't 100% agree with each and every one of them. I don't disagree necessarily. They are a choice that somebody running a campaign will make, and you definitely want to make that decision prior to a campaign starting. Decide where you're going to limit player characters and your world as far as alignment's concerned. And as always, be consistent with it. Do what you think's best. Make sure your players are aware of the ins and outs of it ahead of time, because that's how we know a good game from a bad game. People will constantly be confused in a bad game. In a good game, they might disagree, but they'll know what's what. So there we go. I think the lighting's a little better. Definitely. The microphone situation's a little better off. We will see if we can keep that going forward. And let me just say to everybody in the stream. Thank you very much. If you're here and you don't already, follow the channel if you would, please. Make sure you chime in on the stream chat when you are here, because we collect the names of the people that speak in the stream chat, and once a week we give something nice away to everybody. And lately it's been badges to Virtual Gamehole Con. So we will keep doing that through next week at least, maybe longer. I think we've given away 11. I just want to make sure that we're not boring everybody with the prizes. Maybe we need to take a week off of that. Not this coming, not for this week's, but for next week's, and just throw something else out there that's prize-like. They're not prizes. We're just doing something nice for somebody that follows the show. So there you go. Let's also say, if you're catching up with this on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Give us a thumbs up on the video you're watching, and do us a favor and also make a comment. Constructive criticism's always helpful. Hey, if you haven't done it already, Virtual Gamehole Con. Submit your events. Start thinking about submitting your events. You don't have to do it right this minute. We'll talk some more next week on Monday on Weekly News and Announcement Day about what people have come up with for what they'd like to run and when they'd like to run things. Because I think if we coordinate a little more, we'll avoid the possible overlap so that we can play in one another's games, or at least have that option. Don't forget, tomorrow, Building Adventures. GM Reviews on Saturday. Rules Retrospective, looking at the Druids on Sunday. And then back to Weekly News and Announcements Monday. Tuesday, Cartography and World Building Campaign Discussion on Wednesday. And, of course, GMing Tips on Thursday. Building Adventures. Didn't we finish up the Cooperative Dungeon series last week? Did we do the fourth one? I think we did. So we've got to do something new tomorrow. What will it be? Some sort of rando adventure sort of a thing? Oh, you know what? We could do some more generator stuff. Look around for maybe not. Let's save that for world building. I think that's better for that. But Building Adventures, we'll figure something out. Thank you very much to everybody. Thank you here on Twitch. Thank you on around YouTube. I appreciate it very much. And we will catch you 9:30 a.m. tomorrow or the next day, every day. And see you then from beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Bye-bye.